a lot of my, I've been trying to figure out like a lot of my issues and trying to like fix them.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna grab that.
And I did a few like assessments. Like I did a PTSD assessment, and then I did a borderline personality disorder assessment. And then like I scored very high on both.
High is not good.
High is not good. Okay. You don't want to score 90 in those, you know. But I did a couple of assessments, and like the more I dug deep, I think especially into the aspect of borderline, the more like depressed I got.
Because you understood that that's what was happening?
Yeah, and also like the more I learned about it, the more discouraged about it I got. Okay,
so before we get into that, can you break down what is PTSD and borderline for someone that doesn't understand what that is?
So PTSD, it's post-traumatic stress disorder, right? And it's like, so it's like an event that your brain gets overwhelmed by, and then you so when things that are similar or remind you of it, it sets you off. Creates anxiety, paranoia, things like that. And borderline, from what I've read, and like I'm listening to an audiobook on it, and I've done research on learning what it is. And it's like, they say it's inherited, but for the most part, it's a thing that you get when you're developing, especially in your teenage years. When, you know, we're teenagers, we're already very emotional up and down. And when those like emotions are discouraged or they're not like met appropriately, it creates like this imbalance. And one of the honestly, one of the hardest things about my personality that I've been having difficulty trying to translate to other people is people like think that like I can be dramatic or I'm attention seeking, and you know, I've been like that for so many years, and it's like, no, I don't want like attention. It's not, I don't find myself being dramatic. I'm very reactive, and I could never explain what it is I'm feeling to people other than accepting the fact, okay, I'm a dramatic, attention seeking person. When, you know, as I'm reading about what borderline is, it's like feeling emotions so intense they're physically painful.
I know that scares me and makes me feel like I should go check that out with a doctor. Yeah, because I know what you mean. Yeah. Even this podcast, the criticisms I'll get of it is essentially, man, it's depressing, man. Why are you talking about so many feelings? And it's like, I don't know.
It's just, I'm a feeling type of, all I have are feelings, right? Yeah. And it's like, the way I think too is like, there's no gray area. I don't have that. I don't have that in me to be like, well, you know, no, I'm like, either something is good or bad. And however I rationalize it is up to me. So if it's like, you know, for instance, if I'm going to say like, you know, that's not really that's not a group of people I would be good to hang out with. They're not really my vibe. I'm like, no, they're bad people because they do this, and that. And it's because of that, like, you know, if they're doing something I don't like and that would not be good for me, I have a hard time being like, yeah, they're just not my vibe. It's kind of like, no, I can't hang out with those people because they're like this or that.
Almost villainizing, like. You have to villainize to keep yourself away.
Right. Yeah. Instead of just saying like those people aren't for me.
Right.
Which is, I mean, it's not. And there's a few things also that like the thing that put me in like this spiral where I started isolating myself. The more I learned about it, was that.
When did this spiral happen, by the way?
Man, this happened. Like not even a few weeks ago.
Okay.
No. I want to say like like a month and a half ago is when like me and my therapist started discussing the fact that I should start seeing a psychiatrist, and it's been very hard. And one of the things that I've read about is that a lot of psych people don't even want to work with borderlines because our thing is so misunderstood. It could be mistaken for things like narcissism, bipolar, things like that, because we are chameleons. Our personalities are chameleons. So whoever we're near, we kind of
mirror.
Yeah, mirror. A lot of mirroring.
Do you feel like in this situation that's happening, or do you feel like you've understood it enough to where it's not happening? And even is it even bad if it is happening? I don't know.
I do struggle with a lot of like, who am I? I do struggle with that immensely, especially when it comes to like decision making and things like that. Like I could talk to people in any environment, and I've realized this about like the kind of friends that I keep too. It's like I have this group of friends, and one friend doesn't like the other friend for a certain reason. And I realize that all these people are vastly different. It's not like a group of people I can get together and do shit with. It's like I hang out with this person because they like to talk about their issues. I hang out with this person because they like to party. I like to hang out with this person because we like to go out to eat and do this and that and the other. So, yeah, it's been very hard. So, like, in regards to that, because of that chameleon aspect, borderlines can come off as really, and the only reason I'm talking about this is because like I'm like listening to this shit and I'm like ingesting it, and it's making me kind of depressed. You know what I mean? Like depressed. Yeah. So it's like that kind of trait can come off as like manipulative, which is I think is, I don't know. Maybe I am. It's like a part of it. Like I can't say that I am or I'm not. I don't fucking know. It
seems like this is, we don't know each other. We know each other, but I'm not around you every day.
Right.
I know you in these chunks of time where we've done this podcast, and seeing the shift, like the very first time we didn't even release it, it went so hard. And the second time it was like, at the time, my memory or experience of it was you almost enjoyed or reveled in the feeling. And now it feels like regret might not be the right word, but you're sitting down and assessing your feelings more.
Right.
Yeah. That's my interpretation of it.
That's interesting.
I don't know. Do you remember? Because you remember I was in Pilsen on the stoop. And do you remember your headspace when we first did this versus now?
The first time I did it, I felt like I was a lot more open, a lot more transparent. The second time around, I think that day in particular, I was more like in my feelings and feeling very reflective. And I think today I've just like, especially over the last few weeks, talking about the reckless behavior, I'll go periods of time where I'm gonna start eating kale, and I'm gonna work out every day, and I'm gonna read, and I'm gonna make sure I drink all the water, and I'm gonna work out 3 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I get on a good thing, and then there's this other side of me where I stop caring, and I'm like, I'm gonna do cocaine and stay up till 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm gonna call off work, and I'm gonna be a fucking menace. And
the extremes.
Extremes, yeah.
Do you think that? Sorry, I have some shit in my eye. I know you said something about a therapist versus a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
So a therapist it's a talk therapist.
Okay.
For somebody that has like a lot, somebody that wants to talk their feelings out and come up with a solutions that way. A psychiatrist is like, all right, talking is just not enough. Talking is like a tool, but sometimes people need a chemical interception, I guess.
So they can prescribe medication.
Right.
Do you feel like you need that?
I started taking a mood stabilizer.
Okay.
And one thing it has done is it's mellowed me out a lot.
That's good. I'm so sorry. I know they can't see it on the camera, but I am.
You're rubbing your eyes at you.
God damn it. You know when like a pebble is in your eye?
Oh, I hate when I get pebbles in my eye. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. Just ignore me.
Yeah.
So you feel like you take the mood stabilizer and you do feel that stabilization? It's
just made me a little bit more I guess lethargic. It's made me like, but it's calmed me down. It helps with the racing thoughts. For a while I was like, I think last summer I was dealing with a lot of neurotic behavior and repeating my thoughts and like dealing with a lot of overthinking to the point where I believed it. It wasn't like I wasn't logically assessing a situation or a conversation. I was more or less like having a thought, running with it, and acting on that thought without without processing or further investigating, which is it was getting to be a bit of a problem. So that's why I was like
get you in trouble with people?
Oh yeah, dude. It's like I go through, and one thing that I've reflected on, this is the thing that really put me in this like spiral, was realizing that people that have like borderline or have those kind of tendencies have a difficulty establishing and maintaining long-term meaningful relationships with people.
Why do they have issues with that?
We deal with a lot of paranoia. First of all, we have these thoughts that people are constantly talking bad about us, or that they don't really like us, or that any time they spend with us is obligatory, or they do it because they're guilty, or for some reason. We're never calm or not questioning like the genuine, like we don't question whether something or not is genuine.
It's almost assuming the negative always.
Or I wouldn't say like assuming the negative. It's more or less like the negativity is there, and then if there's any little sign that feeds into it, then it's truth. Which is like, dude, it's the most bizarre shit. And here's the thing too, is like in stand-up especially, I've tried talking about mental health, anything, and I don't like... The one thing I don't like is the people that really love it.
Yeah. What do you love? What exactly?
The things that I talk about.
Okay, I'm gonna put this in my own words. Tell me if I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like it when you're talking about mental health and serious shit. You're presenting it in this comedy format, so it is entertaining. And then you don't like the people that ignore all of the seriousness and just eat the entertainment?
No, I don't like the types of people that say, I really love your shit and I relate to it.
Because you don't want to be around them because you know how fucked up.
Yeah, they are, which is like introspective to me, and it's making me think, am I fucking like that?
Yeah.
Which, because some of the most problematic people in the scene have said, man, I love your shit. I relate to it so much. And I'm like, I hate myself. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to talk about this at all. Maybe I should keep this to myself.
Yeah.
So I've been less inclined to talk about that stuff, but that's like what I'm kind of like focusing on, and I'm not trying to be so fucking like into it to where I'm getting in my own head and I'm getting in my own way. But that sometimes that's just kind of what's happening. And I know it's like, ever since I started therapy, the less I fucking wish I started.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
How is it helping?
I think... Okay, I did therapy for a little bit. I guess a little bit about me, because I know it's been a minute. Did you know that I did therapy for a little bit?
I think we talked about it briefly, yeah.
So my thing was I was watching this show called Lovecraft Country. I don't know if you know that show.
What is it?
Lovecraft Country.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a great show. It's black people, racism, doesn't matter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And there's an episode where they recreate the Tulsa Massacre. And I watched it, and you know my racial issues and where I come from and all that. I watched it, and I had to speak about PTSD, I had a fucking breakdown. Like, I'd never seen a show present the racial physical violence in such a way that I had personally felt. Mm-hmm. And it put me in therapy. I was like, I thought maybe I was just making a big deal of everything that happened in the past. I thought, I'm just exaggerating. It couldn't have been that bad.
Right.
And people, every time I would tell stories, people would be like, they would be shocked by them. And I'd be like, oh no, that's just life. And I just, after watching that, I was like, that should not be what just life is. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah. And
so I started doing therapy, and in the beginning, I didn't like my therapist very much. Mm-hmm. He was very blunt and almost frustrating to me. Mm-hmm. But then as time went on and I understood kind of how he was communicating and what his thought process was, it got better. It was still frustrating, but it got better. And I think maybe the reason you feel like therapy's making it worse is almost because you're just aware of the problem. And then it's a matter of not fixing it, but moving past you know what I'm saying? Am I rambling? I don't know.
No. Moving past the problem, I think it's the main thing. The part that I'm not liking is the unpacking of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the hard, this is the hard part of it, is unraveling everything that happened. And then you get to the why and the how and the what, and then the what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst part of it.
I wanted to jump back to this because you brought it up and I thought it was interesting. You're doing stand-up and you feel like you're attracting the wrong people.
Yeah, dude, the crazies.
And that's with audience and comedians?
Yeah, dude, there's some Looney Tune comics that I know that you've been like, I know you've done that to another comic where you're like...
Yeah. Like, oh Lord, this guy's coming again.
Yeah, guy, female, any type of person when they go up there and they're like, oh my God, that is so unhinged. Those people have come up to me and been like, I really love your material, and I'm like, I don't want anyone fucking see me. Thanks, but get away from me. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So it's made me very reluctant to talk about that kind of stuff. And then I thought then I was thinking like, man, is that how people see me? And then there was a thing about like, well, why am I seeing them like that? Just because they're misunderstood.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to, I know the extremes come out, but do you think it's possible to remove the judgment and leave the acknowledgement? So what I mean by that is that audience member or that comic that relates to you. First off, you must be doing something right.
Yeah.
If they're so excited and they think they get it.
Yeah.
You must be doing something right. You must be touching on something that is of importance. And I understand, like, I don't want to be that person, but if it's at all possible to take out the judgment of them and just acknowledge that they are what they are. I know that's super ethereal.
Yeah, I know. And
do you know?
Yeah, and in theory, it sounds great because I've always told myself too, like, I already know I'm not going to appeal to a mass audience. Mm-hmm. It'd be nice, but that's not how my brain ticks.
That's okay. It would be nice. Do you want that? Do you wish you were, for lack of a better word, normal?
Yeah, 100%.
Now, I'm so excited. Okay, so one of the things that you hear a lot, or I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I'll be like, man, I wish I was regular. It's like, wow, you got to be yourself, Aaron. Just be you. And it's like, yeah, but being me is really difficult.
It's really hard.
I'm tired and I upset people on accident.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know that feeling that you dislike. Can I just be regular?
Just a regular person where I'm content with just the life that I have. Why am I not? I would so much rather just be satisfied getting married to some dude that just wants to buy me a house and have kids, and then I like have my own part-time job just so I have my own money, and then like I go to college and like we maybe go to Bermuda or like we go to some fucking weird ass island once a year for a week to tell ourselves like life is worth living.
You want to be boring.
It would be so great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because people, like, whether or not we say like, oh, that life is boring, to those people, they're happy. Mm-hmm. They're completely content being in the same town that they grew up in.
I'm going to do the thing. That word that you, content, that's the word.
Contentment.
Oh, my God, content.
And for, I wasn't even, to see a psychiatrist for the longest time. I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. I don't want to take pills that are just going to make me numb and take away my creativity. I'm at this point, I'm like, fucking take it away, man. If I have to live with all the other shit.
Yeah.
If I can get rid of all that other shit and then at the risk of it, maybe my paintings suck or I don't write as funny of a joke, at that point, like I would be fine because I want to be content. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at.
What got you there? Because, okay, I remember, I'll never forget this moment. You are ingrained in a Pilsen experience for me.
Yeah.
After the second podcast, we were sitting out on the stoop and we're playing music, and you were explaining to me, I think in the podcast, that sometimes you just like to ruffle people's feathers.
Yeah, I love doing that.
And I remember we were sitting out on the stoop and you were like, let me see your phone. I was playing music in front of the park. Do you remember this?
Yeah, there was like Puerto Ricans playing baseball across the street.
Yeah. And you wanted to play the SpongeBob, the creepy SpongeBob song. I was like, I don't want to, I live here. I don't want to do that. These people know who I am. that instinct was, I never forgot that, and not in a bad way. It just stuck with me that was your thought process, because you had talked about it in the podcast, but I saw it in real life for a second. I was like, oh, okay, this is what you mean by this looking for chaos almost.
Yeah.
Now, what got, because you were my experience of it was a lot of reveling in it.
Yeah.
What from there till now, what was going on with, like, what's been happening that's gotten you to this point where you're almost jaded of it?
Man, it's as much as I love, because I don't like the mundane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, routine really bothers the shit out of me when it's just day in, day out. Like, okay, I work Monday through Friday. I clock in at 8:55 and I work till 5:05. I go home. I eat dinner. I go to the gym. I come home. I read. I watch a TV show. I go to bed. Wake up. Repeat. Then the weekend happens. The weekend comes along. I get drunk. I do this or I do that. And then I come home and the week repeats itself. I hate that shit. I don't like it. It just reminds me of like this monotonous life that I told myself I never wanted to live.
It's okay.
But the caveat of that is like, so you live spontaneous. Like, I'm spontaneous. I'm very, like, I say spontaneous. Spontaneous sounds fun, right? Yeah. Like, let's go to Dairy Queen, or like, let's go on a hike or whatever. No, I'm impulsive, dude. Right? So impulsive is the thing. If something sounds good in the moment, I'll do it right then and there. Good or bad. And lately, the negative actions have been kind of taking over, because what I've found is it's more thrilling and risky than the spontaneous, let's go to a water park, which I love doing, don't get me wrong, but so is going to a shitty 4 a.m. bar, doing cocaine and hanging out at people's houses that you've just met that night. And or, you know, just engaging in risky behavior. Yeah. To feel excitement. Yeah. You know, because with people that have, like, I hate bringing up borderline. I don't even like telling people that I'm dealing with this or things like that, because there's like this stigma that's tied with it. But along with those extreme emotions, impulsive, addictive behaviors are also a huge problem. So once I learned that, like I've drank like probably since I was 15. You know, that's when I had my first taste of alcohol. And I always like was one of those where when I would drink, it's never just one or two. I'm going to drink till I fucking end up on a roof, or like do something insane, or like, you know, do just whatever. And people that have these extreme emotions, that also carries on to substances. So I react to substances twice as much as somebody that has like, I'm going to have a couple drinks. I'm going to get a little drunk. I'm probably going to eat Taco Bell and go to bed. No, dude, I'm going to do wild shit. So it's like any substance I take, I feel twice as much as well. It's a lot, dude, because I love drinking, and I'd like to be able to partake in acid and mushrooms and, like, you know what I mean, do those kind of things. But
have you tried quitting drinking?
Yeah, I've done it.
How does it go for you when you do? Does it get boring?
It's not that it's boring. My nights are a little bit more boring, but they're more meaningful. Like, I'm not sick the next day. Like, I do like myself more when I don't drink. Okay. You know?
Why? What is the draw to come back? I mean, I can make the assumption, but you're putting it on your own words. If you like yourself more when you're not drinking, if you don't have a rough morning, if you're not feeling sick, feel healthier, the nights are a little more boring, but it doesn't sound like that's a deal breaker. What's going on there? Why?
It's literally social.
Okay.
It's literally social. When I'm in like, because I don't drink. First of all, I don't drink by myself. I don't drink at home. Like, I might have a drink at my sister's, but I never get drunk. I'll have like one by her, one or two. But it's when I'm out in social events with people that have strong personalities.
We have a lot of them out here.
And yeah, there's so fucking many of them. And then they're in bars on top of it, and they're acting up. And so are me. Like, I can deal with that for maybe 45 minutes. Yeah. After that, I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't do this all night.
Yeah. Unless you're drunk.
Right? And then You know, so if you're talking about, for me, I only come out and do open mics maybe once or twice a week now.
Mhm.
And I just try and do as many open mics as possible. So, you know, you have a mic that starts at 6, then at 7, then 8, 9, 10:30. You know what I mean? That's a lot of fucking time being around a lot of people. You're talking about 100 different comedians probably over the course of, what, 5 hours?
Yeah, I get you. So it sounds like to do comedy, you need to be a part of that social aspect of things, and that's important. But that social aspect of things is what's dragging this cycle in the first place.
If I was one to just sit in the corner and say to myself, people assume that I have an attitude, or like, because I've had that happen. Are you in a bad mood? No. I don't want to drink, and I don't want to socialize to that extent.
I connect with what you just said there a lot. I've come to realize through the podcast and talking to people that I never got to sit down with, that they thought that same thing about me, because I'll do that. I'll go in the corner. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just, not because I'm mad at anybody, or I just...
You think you're better than anybody? It's like, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's too much. It's too much energy.
Yeah.
That feeling thing you were describing, like people, can you tell me if you relate to this? You can feel people's energy. Okay, good. So, and then when you're around comedians who have particularly crazy different levels of energy, it's almost overwhelming. It is turning up the radio too loud inside of a car with the windows up. It's just, you can't even function.
Right, and then the windows are foggy, and you're constantly doing like this to the windows. Yeah, because, you know, comics have to be on days when they don't want to be on, and a lot of us are like really sad inside, or deal with like a lot of psychological shit, and we have to mask it and put on this happy face. And then a lot of times some of them aren't like content with even just doing that, so then they have to be drunk on top of that. So when you're around that energy and so many different personality types that have their own baggage and mental illnesses and problems, and they bring it with them to talk about on stage, you mash that in a small room of people. No wonder that room, one, fucking smells, is humid, and why everybody is sitting at a separate table for one reason or another.
It sounds okay. Now, the part where people, like the times when you're trying to separate yourself from it and be better, when you want to sit, mind your own business, and you feel that judgment, what is it about that judgment that matters to you? Why? Because the people that know you and love you, if you say to them, I'm working on myself, I'm just trying to sit here and shut the fuck up, I'd imagine those people would be like, fair enough. But the people that don't know you, that judgment seems to be the stuff that's bothering you.
Right. And the thing is, a lot of the criticisms that I've gotten have been from people that I've been friends with in the past and have had issues with, and that have made an effort. Like, because you've heard that, I don't know if you've heard this, but like some people will just commit to misunderstanding you.
Ooh, people, snaps.
Right?
Snaps. Please keep going.
There are some people that just have their assumption about you, and that is truth. People forget that we're like, and I do this myself too, is like we forget that everybody is complex with their own issues, with their own desires, with their own, you know, everything. And that varies day by day for a lot of people. And sometimes we take things so personally that, you know, we make judgments on that person. And my thing that I struggle with is I struggle with a lot of paranoia. I struggle with the fact that my, you know, people that call me, that they're say, oh, I'm your, you know, we're good friends. You're my best friend. You're one of my best friends. You're this. I take the words like that very seriously. So when you sit there and you say, I'm one of your better friends, or you could talk to me about anything, that means I'm going to throw some of my shit at you and see how you handle it. And unfortunately, there have been some friends that I've, you know, when I was dealing with a lot emotionally, psychologically, like, and I've been very vocal about it, have judged how I handled things, judged the way that I carried myself, judged judged the way that I coped with it. And, you know, for me, and I think it's because like I deal with this personally. When somebody comes to me and they say that they're struggling, or they're sharing these very vulnerable parts of themselves with me, even if we weren't on good terms, I'm not the type of person to run my mouth and talk poorly about their person, and especially tell other people what happened and what they were dealing with. And Jesus Christ, that's a lot. Like, stay away from that person. I've had friends do that to me.
I guess they're not your friend.
Exactly.
Do you still associate with them?
No.
Okay. Well,
no. I've tried to make amends with it, and especially after trying to talk through it and being like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's fine that happened. Yeah, I get why you would tell people I'm unstable and to stay away from me. And then I go home and I think about that, and is that something that I would do to somebody that I said was a friend? I would never. I've done some shady things. I've done some shit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I could be a fuck up too.
Yeah.
But to intentionally be malicious, like, to that degree, when you see that somebody is struggling psychologically, and especially having, very negative thoughts about themselves and the world around them, and then it takes something personal when they withdraw or they just fall back, because that's what I do when I'm dealing with a lot of shit up here. The best thing for me to do is to fall back and to just isolate and deal with that shit. Otherwise, there's that other aspect where I will tell anybody that will listen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Is there one or two people that you are, even with your dealing with paranoia, are there one or two people in your life where you're like, no, they're solid? Yeah.
Okay. I literally have two people that are like that, and it's, for me, that's fine. I can call that, and I'm the type of person where, like, when I say paranoia, I even question how much they care about my friendship. Like, I've blocked and unfollowed and blocked their numbers, and walked in the rooms and have ignored them completely. And it's like, it's all up here. It's all internal things that I'm projecting 100%. It's never like I'm thinking they're a bad person or like they're this, that, or the other. It's more or less, I am paranoid that they don't have my best interests, or that they are pretending to be friends with me to use whatever I tell them against me. And I think that comes a lot from growing up, probably, especially in your teenage years and your early adult years. You're going to deal with a lot of people that don't really have your back and are fake friends, or people that, are malicious. And especially, I think, being a woman. Like, men, I don't think you guys deal with things like differently, but women are very
catty.
Yeah, catty, vocally malicious. I dealt with that a lot. Yeah. In my formative years.
Yeah, how men deal with things. I mean, I told you it was jiu-jitsu before this.
Yeah.
That has been goddamn amazing for my mental health.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, part of it is that aggression. I don't have no problems with anybody at the gym, but you're literally fighting like twice a week, and so you get this whatever this is out.
Yeah,
it is very helpful. And I wonder, obviously comedy is important, and I would never suggest stopping. Are there any other outlets that are healthy for you that you could get into?
I was thinking about it. Like, I did jiu-jitsu for probably 6 months. Yeah, okay. I did. And then I did like a roll, and I smacked my nose, and it, like, the kind where your eyes water and like, and I was just like, I like rage quit. You know what I mean? When you're playing like football with your friends, the football hits you in the face. It's like that stinging sensation in your nose. After that happened, I'm like, I'm not doing this.
And that was the moment, like you were talking earlier, you'll get excited and then it'll
and it'll drop. Yeah.
How can you push past the drop? Because I imagine it's gonna go boom boom. Nobody sees. I'm making noises that no one can see.
You're boom booming.
Up, my boom boom boom. It goes up and then down, and then over enough time, it'll come back up.
Yeah.
So like, how do you push through that part of it till it goes back up again?
Still showing up.
Just doing it regardless.
Yeah, and a friend was telling me about this too, and when I was talking to him about, like, man, me going to the gym, it's like, I'll do so well for a few weeks, and then I'll find myself like, I'm not going today. Oh, I'm too tired. Or I'll start rationalizing why I can't work out, and then that'll turn into a week or 2 weeks, and next thing you know, the whole month has gone by. I haven't worked out, and I'm over here like, man, I feel like shit. And he was saying, and I think it was something like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, where it was like, even if, like, just make the habit of going. Even if you're not going to give, you don't have to give 100% of yourself every time you go. Even if you show up to the gym and you do one machine, or you're looking on your phone, or you sit in the sauna, just go and show up. Because you're at least forming the habit of going. When you form the habit of going, some of those days you're going to give a little bit more than not going at all.
Do your friends, the ones that you feel less paranoid about, are they encouraging of those? Like, if you stop going to the gym, will they say, "Hey, Jessica, get your fat ass off the couch and go to the gym"?
I fucking wish they would, but if they said that, I'd cry, and then you know what I'm saying.
Right,
but
right. Let me rephrase. What would have been the nicer way? That's the David Goggins way of doing it. What is what on a day where you're like, I don't feel like working out, but you know you should? What is the best way for your friends to speak to you to get it to click, to be like, no, let me do this?
I don't know. Like, the thing that would motivate me is just reminding me, I think, of the things that I want to accomplish. And a thing that puts me back in the gym is things I literally tell myself, is that I don't want to be in the same position I was last year. I don't want to feel the same way that I felt about myself last year. How did I feel about myself? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I felt undesirable. I felt lazy. I felt unmotivated. And how did I feel when I was working out and eating greens and not drinking and drinking water and, you know, reading and putting my phone down and not sitting there playing video games all day? What did I do? How did I feel? And I felt amazing. So it's like those little, you know, have you heard that term, like, about, like, it's the first thing you do every day should be making your bed, the make your bed thing. And then, you know, you go through and you start accomplishing.
I'm looking at my shit right now.
Yeah, dude, you don't even
have. The sheet is literally half off the bed right now. To be fair,
you got cookies on your bed.
Do I have cookies on my bed?
Yeah, dude, you got cookies on your bed. You got Ruffles next to it. Yeah, it's a disaster in here. I don't know if you know.
It's looking real bad. I was worried about it, but I was tired and I was like, fuck it. And now I'm regretting that decision.
Well, I mean, it's fine. It's like the little investments in yourself are the things that are gonna make you feel better. So for me to feel better, is I do things like I make sure my house is clean before I go to bed every night. I don't like to go to bed with a dirty room.
I'm gonna do the thing and then we'll.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure your house is clean.
Making sure my house is clean. I don't like to go home. I don't like to go to bed with, like, clothes on my floor or trash on my nightstand, things like that. So I always make sure that my house smells good, my room is clean, and things like that.
Now, you have that habit. Like, that's not something you have to worry about?
No. I know it's getting bad if it's like a few days go by and the dishes start piling up, but I've never been like a hoarder or anybody that, like, I don't let trash sit on my floor for days.
Well, that's good.
I've never done that.
That's a good habit you have.
It is, yeah.
Something positive.
Yeah, dude. Now, whether or not, like, I shower for a week or not, and then I climb into dirty sheets, that's neither here nor there. That's when for me, that's when it's worrisome.
That's the moment you're like, okay, do I smell myself?
Do I smell myself? Am I not brushing my teeth? Am I not eating? Because there will be, like, days where I'm just like, I don't give a fuck, you know?
Jesus. You were talking about paranoia earlier, which was interesting because part of it was being open and expressing yourself leaves you open to people's attack or manipulation of that.
Yes.
But you also have this burning desire to do it.
Yeah.
And even within this podcast, first off, if you need me to delete, like, at the end, you're welcome to look back and tell me if you want whatever you need to cut out, if we want anything to be cut out. But do you feel that paranoia here, like with me right now?
No, I mean, I probably afterwards, if I think of something, I'll probably, like, reassess it. I'll play it back in my head. And then I'll go, like, that's why I'm so, like, reluctant to do podcasts, because I'm the type of person where if somebody asks me something, I have a hard time hiding how I feel about shit. I really struggle with being like, yeah, everything's great, or like, no, nothing's, nothing. I'm like, yeah, this is going on and this is what's happening. This is how I feel about it. And what do I do? I've always, I wouldn't say I've always been like that, but I've been more transparent, I think, in the last maybe 8 years, because I've always had this longing to be understood, because I don't really understand myself, and I really struggle with like who I am and what I like and I don't like, and I feel like I have this conflicting personality where I can play both sides. And I had this theory, like, I wonder if a lot of that could be tied to growing up with a parent that's bipolar, because like my mom's bipolar. Like my mom's very bipolar, dealing with
mirrored her maybe.
Well, when you walk into a room and you don't know what mood she's going to be in, you kind of have to contort yourself to appeal to that personality. So if my mom's in a bad mood, I'm not going to go in there and be like, Mom, can I have $20? You go in there and you're like, hi, Mom. You know what I mean? Like, can I get you a Pepsi with ice? Like, to do things to make her feel better, right? And then you have that other side where your mom's really nice, So when you have these, like, your mom that has these polarizing moods and you're a young kid, I think you quickly learn. I don't know if every kid deals with this. I don't think every kid's like sensitive to other people's emotions. My mom has always said that you're my most sensitive child. I've always been like that.
Do you have older brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I'm the second youngest of like, my mom has 6 kids and I'm the second youngest.
Do you feel like, were you the closest with your mom relative to everyone else?
I'm trying to think of like, because like the age gaps between, like, my oldest sister is in her in her 50s now, and and I'm 35. So when my mom had me, she was my age, 35, and then my oldest sister, my mom was probably like 16 when she had her. So it's really interesting. Yeah. I think the way that I think each of us had different versions of my mother. My mom being a teenage girl kicked out of her house and being with an abusive husband. And then my mom had her and her sister. And then that was like, hearing the stories of that. And then my mom got married again, who was an abusive alcoholic. And then those 2 kids. And then, then her husband got killed. So after that, she met my dad. And so like meeting my dad in her 30s, after all this trauma and being abused and being neglected emotionally and dealing with all that kind of shit, when she met my dad and then had us, we had a very different version of my mother, I think, than when my oldest sister was born. So my mom, I think, by that time, my mom's got PTSD and bipolar, taking meds for it and everything like that. So having this mother that's so on edge, and then she's very avoidant and isolates and deals with her own things. It was very hard growing up with it, because I personally always felt like I had to walk on eggshells. And I never knew what mood my mother was going to be in.
That makes sense. The empathy thing, the feelings thing. I mean, to survive, you need to be able to feel people out,
right?
And especially when you're dealing with, we'll say, mentally ill people,
right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you meditate at all?
No, I can't. I reflect. I don't meditate. I know I should. It makes me feel better when I do.
Doesn't it suck that all the good things that make you feel better are shitty to do?
They're just. Why are they like shit that even? It's just like, well, what's the point of meditation? To make you relax and reflect, and we're like, ugh, what do we have to do? Just sit there still. That's stupid. Why would I do that?
I look at meditation, for me, it helps. It's less about, I mean, there's a relaxing element.
Yeah.
But for me, it's forcing me to be present. I have this issue where I'm either thinking about the past or I'm making shit up about the future. I'm trying to win an argument from 2017 or I'm preparing for an argument next week.
Right.
And meditation has been helpful for me to just be here good or bad.
Right, like what's happening now? What's the reality of things now?
Very literally now, yeah.
Yeah, I have this thing where I'm very comfortable being delusional.
Oh no. Let's talk about that. You're comfortable being delusional.
Yeah, dude. My reality, like you call it, like people call it manifestation. No, that's but I think that I don't know. It's like I I was always like into daydreaming and things like that. So I think that's where a lot of that started. But I can be a very delusional person. I think especially about like my circumstances, and I think it could be a coping mechanism. It's like a thing that we tell ourselves is real for our comfort, you know?
Delusional in like you're propping yourself up or you're pulling yourself down delusional.
Ooh, what kind of delusion is that? Like,
I've met people who like, maybe delusional is probably not the right word, but it's the one I'm going to use.
right.
I've met people who are super talented, but just shit on themselves so much. Like they're delusional about their own abilities and how good they actually are.
Right. I do struggle with that as well. I don't think I'm good comedically. A lot of times I don't think I am.
Even when people come up and
Even when people are saying like, man, that was so fucking good. That was so good. And I'm like, was it though? You know, was it though?
Are you just crazy?
Yeah. It's like not to the standard that I'd like. And like I've always been interested in singing, and I love singing, and then people tell me how great I am at that, but I struggle singing publicly because I don't think I'm great at it. It's like,
what's the difference between stand up and singing?
For me, singing is a lot more honestly, it's like it's a lot more vulnerable.
Why?
I don't know. I think it draws a more sensitive part of me. Something that comfort me, that would comfort me and make me feel nice. And to have things that make me feel better being criticized, I don't like. Criticism is one of the hardest things that I've still to this day struggle with. I have a hard time accepting criticism, constructive or not, good or bad. I don't like any of it. So like stand up, I think, especially being one of the most critiqued art forms out there.
Yeah.
You're not going to connect with everybody. It's the same, like, but you know, someone sees a painting and they see like the artistic ability. They're like, that's a nice painting. I don't get it, but I like it. Some people will hear a song like, oh, I could see why you would like it. It's not personally for me. You know, somebody that, you know, just one thing or another. But when you hear stand up, I've never really heard like, I can see why people like them, but they're just not for me. It's like, no, they're dog shit and they're not funny. Right. And that's that. Right. You know?
And that's how you feel.
About myself, yeah.
Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Right now you do?
Yeah. I always, you know, I think that's the whole caveat. Or not the whole caveat. I think that's the whole thing to it is like, I do think that there's something there, and that's why I continue doing it. And I have to continuously tell myself, thoughts are just thoughts. They're going to come and go. And, you know, they're not true just because you think them a lot. And sometimes you'll have a person here or there that will confirm those thoughts. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily make it true.
Have you ever watched Steven Universe?
No. Is that a show? I thought that was an artist.
It's a cartoon. Steven Universe. The character sings a lot.
Okay, yeah.
But I would. Okay. So it's a kid's show. It's like Adventure Time, but a little more emotional from what I remember.
Okay.
Or understand of it. It's gonna start off, and you're gonna be like, "This is really childish," and the episodes are like 10 minutes long. I swear, if you just keep watching it, I promise you, it will warm your soul. And there's gonna be. I'm thinking of a song right now that they sing to help with invasive thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like it goes. It's like just a thought. And this is goofy as shit, but
I like that this is something that you've watched and that you've sat there and you're like, you tried the first couple episodes and you're like, you know what? If I just stick to it,
that's what all that everyone told me. Like just keep going, and it is beautiful.
Okay.
And in terms of its perception of dealing with this type of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's times, when you watch a TV show or there's a character you'll like channel during a moment of stress. I do that with that show. It's great. I would highly suggest it.
I'll take your word for it.
Yes.
It sounds amazing. Because I'm one of those people, like, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I can't even, the show has to be so fucking captivating, the first episode. Otherwise, I'm like, this is dog shit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And if that ends up happening with you, if you watch like a few episodes and you're like, I don't want to do it, I understand.
Okay.
I will not judge you.
Yeah.
I have 2 more things. Ready?
Okay.
In terms of your goals of comedy now, where are you at? Because it sounds like you're having trouble with what you do as a comedian on stage, which is just be you, which is working if people are, coming up and praising you. But you don't want that praise. So, where are you with comedy?
Where I am right now is I told myself, and this started in June, I kind of took a step back doing shows and mics and, really dwindling it down. Because I told myself, I need to, live life for a while. I need to go experience life. I need to try new things. I need to, spend time with family and develop friendships and go to new places as opposed to the same place every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I wanted to go do fun things and go have, meaningful connections with people and go just live and try different stuff. And that's been the focus. I'm picking back up, I think, in September. In September, I'm going to go to Austin for 9 days. So I booked a bunch of shows out there to kind of get myself prepped. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be listening to my sets and kind of reconstructing how I do jokes. Because one of the many critiques I've gotten back on people that watch me is they say, I don't have a lot of follow through on my jokes. My jokes kind of just hop from one topic to the next. And I don't transition well into other jokes. So I got to sit there and think, smoke pot probably, and just how to make those connections, how to tag my jokes. And I've just been doing the same shit for I think probably 3 or 4 years. Once in a while I'll think of a good zinger to where I could be I can do this. I'm going to try that out, and it works out. But I think the thing is I've just been shutting, and I think this comes from when you just live your life from one distraction to the next. You're not really taking in anything, which is what I feel like I've been doing, I think, since off and on since my breakup in 2017. I was just numbing myself in various ways. You go from one distraction to the next and you convince yourself, this is fun, this is great, I'm having a good time, I'm living my life. But when you're not present and you're not enjoying it, you're not gonna have a whole lot of takeaway.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
In my own words, you took some time to be a human.
Yes.
And now you're using your humanity in comedy as you start up again.
Right. Yeah.
All right. This has been my favorite part of the podcast. So the camera is you. This is my artistic moment.
Okay.
The camera is you in 5 years. What would you like to say to yourself 5 years from now? This is 5 years from now, you.
So I'm speaking to myself. I'm going to speak to myself in 5 years.
Yeah. This is how old, I don't know how old you're, but you in 5 years is who you're talking to. What do you want to say to yourself 5 years from now?
To 40-year-old me?
Yeah.
Listen, you piece of shit. I hope that all of this is worth it. I hope that wherever you are, when you're 40, you're not looking back and being I'm 40, nobody loves me. And that you understand that the point of life is not to be loved, okay? Are people going to love you? Sure. But a thing that you have to accept, and I hope you do 5 years from now, when I hope you continue on this journey of fixing the shit that happened to you that wasn't your fault, But I hope by 40 you've taken accountability and that you found something that you really like doing career-wise that you don't hate. I hope to fucking God you're not still doing hair, because if you are, I don't blame you for taking all your pills. But that's something. No, I shouldn't say that to 40-year-old me. Okay, 40-year-old Jessica, I hope that by this time you're content with who you are, you're more settled into who you are, and that you've done some things that you actually, I hope you come up with stuff that you want to do with your life. Like actual goals, and not just these impulsive things that you tell yourself in the moment that you're going to act on because suddenly you want to drive your car to a random state, or suddenly you're going to like go get a tattoo in a fucking trailer park again. Stop doing that shit. Stop doing street cocaine. I hope you stop doing that. And I hope you find like something that you really thoroughly love doing. You know, and if it's 5 things that you kind of moderately enjoy doing enough to consistently do it, and that you get good enough at it to you have something. Okay, take away. I just hope you find something to be proud of. To say that in the 40 years of your life that you produce something that you are so proud of that you could say, yeah, all that shit that I dealt with was worth doing because look what I have now. I hope you find that little fucking Easter egg of like joy in life.
Let's take this picture.